Rolling like a geezer.
Welcome, everybody. It is time for another exciting, and I do mean exciting, episode of Graybeard'S Studio. I'm sorry, I was I was stepping on something down here underneath my desk. It's Graybeard'S Studio. So it is March 1st already. Wow, 2023 today. Finally, we're addressing the Jonny Quest universe, which is something I've been pushing for a long time, but kept losing every time we did a poll. But this week in our leftovers poll, it barely beat out sci-fi by one vote, if you can believe that. One vote made the difference. So we are doing Jonny Quest. I am sad to say that we still have no Bigfoot sighting. No word from Kelsey yet. So I don't think he'll be joining us, but hope springs eternal, so that he will return at some time and be a part of this show again. But in the meantime, let me introduce my co-host for this wonderful draw stream. In fact, people are saying it's the best draw stream on the internet. Well, maybe it was me that said that, but it's true nonetheless. Please welcome David Williams. There he is. Look at that. That is what we call product placement. Nice promotional advertising. How you doing, David? You still alive? Somebody wake that guy up. He's got to draw. Oh, my gosh. Well, I want you to know that we have brought back also Gary Martin, one of the great inkers in the comic book industry, to help moderate and keep the conversation flowing. So let's welcome Gary back in. There he is. Hey, Gary. Thanks for joining us again.
What do you mean, one of?
Well, I meant the. I'm sorry. I was just trying to be nice to the other people, the smaller. You know,
they're not here. They're not here.
Yeah. The greatest thinker in the comic book industry.
No, we can say anything we want.
That's true. Well, though, it does stay on YouTube forever. So, people will be captured. They'll be sending that remark out to Scott Williams and other people going, see that? They said Gary Martin was the best. So anyway, welcome. And thanks for joining us. We bring you in here, Gary, to tell strange, bizarre stories from your childhood. So we're
no goiter stories today.
Yeah, no goiter. What about the goiter? Let's take a look and see who's in the chat. First of all, Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is almost always here. He says, "Hail, Aaron Lopresti or Lopez. I am Old Man Winter today. I go by many, many names." He wants to know if Lopez drew Atari Force. Well, I know I didn't. Past Master Dan, hit the like and show Aaron caring is something emotional. It is. I'm getting a little teary-eyed, but we do appreciate that if you'd hit the old like button and the subscribe button if you haven't already. It helps this channel grow. Well, kind of like The Blob, if you remember that movie with Steve McQueen back in the 50s. The more likes you hit, the bigger we get. So that may not be a good thing, but it makes us feel better. So please do that if you're so inclined. Jeff Potts is here. You see, they're bringing the Atari Force, and that's trouble in these parts. I know you guys are just doing this to get cannonballed, so therefore I'm not going to cannonball you right now for that. I'm not giving you what you want. Yes, Gary.
I don't know the history of this Atari Force deal that you.
I hate Atari Force, and the reason I've never
Lopez.
No, see, I know that's the problem. I don't hate necessarily I hate the concept. I hate when they take like toy adaptations and make them into comics. Although Micronauts was, I guess, okay, but Atari Force was. I just thought it was dumb. I thought the whole concept was dumb.
Oh, I agree. I agree absolutely. I mean, they were just going, chasing the dollar on that one. But I still, I was at DC at the time and I was getting comps, so I would look at Atari Force. I never read it.
Mm-hmm.
I never read a single word, but it was Garcia Lopez, man.
I know, and so it's really hard for me to diss Atari Force without dissing Garcia Lopez, but I'm not dissing. I'm dissing the concept of Atari Force as a comic.
I'm 100% on board with that.
Okay, so that's my thing.
So you guys can mock me in the chat. You can mock me from now on for Atari Force.
That's right, because we both feel the same way. It was kind of like when they did ROM Space Night. I was like, come on, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a whole list of licensed properties that both Marvel and DC went after, and some of them, were pretty good. Like you said, Micronauts. I mean, Golden.
That worked. That worked for some, but I mean, you had Golden on there. You had
the story was solid too. It was entertaining. Yeah. You had a Darth Vader type villain, and it was cool.
Yeah, it sort of almost became like a X-Men type book, where it just kind of that surge of popularity there for a while. Bill Wiest is here. He says the quest for Kelsey. That's really what the show should be called now. Sequential Treasures, Kelsey Quest, the hunt through the swamps. We're gonna start. We have to start our own show and just like show videos of, we think he's there. Could that be Kelsey behind those trees? Luffy as God says Kelsey isn't dead, so they only got the Paul is dead thing going on now. Nabotes says this is the last week I can join in. Henceforth, I'll be doing this late afternoon after work, but this is my new favorite show. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. It is growing in popularity, and we thank you guys for making that possible. Ronan says this was #1 when Aaron was in college. Are we talking about Jonny Quest? I wasn't even when Jonny Quest actually came out, which I think was, correct me if I'm wrong, it was 64, 65, I think, when it first came out. So I didn't get to see it until Saturday morning reruns in the early 70s is when I first saw Jonny Quest. So I never saw it when it first came out, but I became an immediate fan because it is perhaps the coolest adventure cartoon ever made. So
yeah, any cartoon where characters are actually punching each other
and shooting guns at each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shooting and I mean actual violence.
Yeah, and
characters, with race and what was her name? Jade, the sexual tension.
Yeah, the Jezebel Jade. So yeah, and then the monsters. There was monsters practically every week, and even when it wasn't, there was like weird espionage stuff going on, that was kind of cool. And I just remember, I want to say it was the Sasquatch episode where they're up in the Himalayas or whatever, and there's this scene where they're Johnny and Haji are riding this shield down this snow slope, and all these guys are just firing guns at these two little kids, like.
Hold on a second. Past Master Dan is making a statement that I don't understand.
He says, "Is it Friday or is it past that?"
Race was a pimp.
Race was a pimp.
Who was he pimping? I mean, could take a dark turn here.
Oh my gosh. Dan, the Pizza Man Genovese is here. Zaid Comics, of course, that is Phil Diaz is joining us. Past Master Dan, as Gary just alluded to. Leg Kick is here. Citizen Ronan. Phil Devereaux. Don't you love that name? I had a character I thought last name was Devereaux. Claire Devereaux. What was that from? I think that was a screenplay I wrote when I did this 1930s detective thing. It was kind of a comedy adventure. And I think the femme fatale was Claire Devereaux. I'll have to go back and check. Blackjack is here, and he's saying Atari Force was actually good. Okay, I'm sorry, I can't take it anymore. This cannot go on. Okay, there we go. Sorry, Blackjack, but that's the way it goes around here.
Blackjack, that's another cool name. That could refer to a bunch of different stuff. Like in the 60s, wasn't there a gum, like a licorice gum called Blackjack?
I think you're right. There was. But was there ever a comic book character called Blackjack? You couldn't do it now. Could you do a black character and call him Blackjack?
Of course you could.
Every black character has black in the name in comics.
Right. Black Goliath.
I used to sign my artwork under a pseudonym, and it was Spade.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. David, you've probably had more signatures than anyone I know.
And another thing that Alex Ross picked up on it, because he knew about all that. He made the Spade character and put it in Kingdom Come.
Oh,
Really?
And he made him look like me. I got me. Like, sheesh.
Yeah, but
that now. Yeah.
in this day and age, could a white guy like me do a comic book about a black character named Blackjack or Spade? I don't think so.
Why not?
I think
Why
I'd be in
not?
serious
Well,
trouble.
maybe Blackjack. I don't know about Spade.
Oh, you'd only be in serious trouble if you play the game, by their rules, and you're not playing.
Well,
by
no, I mean, I'm
anybody's
saying
rules.
they would come after me whether or not I
Who
allow.
cares?
Yeah,
They
but
already
I just
came after you already. You already
That's
took the
true.
heat. So
So okay, now you're convincing me I should do it.
yeah, just do it and just whip your stuff out
No.
and plop it
That's
in
right,
butter
here.
dish and say, "Who doesn't like my stuff in the butter?"
That's right.
Yeah, you know, Blackjack and Spade.
That's right. I'm having
There you
both.
go.
They'll team up, Blackjack and Spade. It'll be like this. But I'll make one of them a white guy to really piss people off.
Yeah. White Spade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blackjack and White Spade.
Paul Taylor, our resident biologist, says, did he finally win Jonny Quest? I didn't vote that option. So he's saying I cheated now just to get Jonny Quest. It literally was, the poll shows you the percentages, but it doesn't show you the number. So I took the number divided by the percentage to see what it was 1 vote difference. And then I went on to Facebook, and only 4 people participated in the Facebook thing, and 2 of them wanted sci-fi and 2 of them wanted Jonny Quest. So it stayed the same, the 1 vote difference. So I didn't cheat just so I could draw Jezebel Jade. Octagon says, my book is very reminiscent of JQ. Love that kid, Jonny Quest. There you go. They tried to keep bringing him back in different incarnations, and it just never really sort of caught on. It was never as cool.
Because you should never take Jonny Quest out of the era he was created.
I think you're right.
Well, they also had amazing artists working on it, you know, animation design,
Yeah.
great music, sound effects, great voice actors. I mean, that you take any of those elements out and, you know, try to redo it, it's going to fail.
Nomsky says, white guy named Johnny Mayo.
I like it. Johnny
Blackjack
Mayo.
and Johnny Mayo.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's good stuff. Well, speaking of good stuff, David's, if you guys, David convinced me to take a chance on getting flagged and to show this. This is the what do you call it? Stop motion intro to Jonny Quest.
Oh yeah. I love this.
So let's I got to share it first. That might help. I was going to play it for myself, and I figured maybe you guys would like to see it too. Okay, you can see it, right?
Yep.
All right, here we go. I'm going to play a little bit of the music for about 20 seconds, and then I'm going to cut it so I don't get in trouble. So here we go. This is, if you haven't seen this, this is on YouTube, and it's pretty darn cool. But here we go.
Get away with a great
This is
deal at the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event.
You skip to the next thing. You got to go back.
Oh, crap. Okay, here comes everybody going, boomer. Here it is. You guys can hear it, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
One, take
good.
2.
All right, sorry. dun, dun, dun,
Dun, dun, dun.
dun, 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 dun. This is a great theme song. It's like right up
Hey,
there.
do the
with
sound effects.
oh, wait a minute. Yeah.
I'm not Michael Winslow from Police Academy. I can't do the sound effects.
There's Johnny. And we'll cut out the sound again. Dr. Benton Quest. That's even a cool name. Benton Quest. Race Bannon. This is great stuff.
Yep.
And poor Haji.
Yeah.
Some SJW would call him racist Bannon.
Yeah. That's right. Oh, that's good stuff. So anyway, if you want to see that with the music, there you go. The Adventures of Jonny Quest. So there it was.
I almost wish it was stop motion because it was so cool.
Yeah.
I know that. I can imagine the amount of work someone did for that just to put it up on YouTube.
Right.
It's like, oh my goodness.
It's probably worth it if he got like subscribers and all this other kind of stuff. So.
Oh, well, there's probably like multi-million views. I didn't even look to see how many views this guy got, but I'm sure it's millions. So probably get a few bucks on that. I don't understand how YouTube works, where someone can do something like that and play it, and then if I take it, I get struck. Well, why isn't he getting struck for doing the soundtrack and everything? You know what I mean?
He may.
YouTube doesn't like you. It's because you're black.
Oh, well, maybe yeah.
May have gotten permission, from Hanna-Barbera or whoever owns the.
But there's guys that do like movie reviews and things like that, and they never get in trouble. But I guess maybe you're right. We'd have to go through all that rigmarole to get permission, and then how do you let YouTube know you actually have permission? I don't know. Crazy. I guess they don't do anything. YouTube doesn't do anything unless someone files a claim against you. So we'll wait for Hanna-Barbera to jump on this, and
I don't think you'll get in trouble for that.
the guy with the.
I got something to show from last week.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Did you finish? I'm going to full screen you. So you got it finished. There's Jack Burton about ready to get hit on the head with a big clump of stone. All right. So there it is. Now you guys all, I don't even know where mine's at. I should bring it back on just to show, since David's doing it. I had to restructure everything in this studio while I was redoing everything, and so now it's like I'm gonna find this stuff. Oh, there it is.
You like that gun, Gary?
Yes, you did a little research, didn't you?
It's all out of my head. I'm like Michael Golden.
Seriously?
No.
Just the barrel alone is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. The gun wasn't there last time, was it?
That's not a Sterenko gun.
No, that's a real thing.
I mean, I had it drawn. I just didn't have it inked.
Okay, so now you're working on this. This is the Fantastic Four commission that looks like it's nearing completion.
Yeah.
This is all watercolor?
Yep, all watercolor.
I love how you got like Sue down there at the bottom, sort of invisible in her leg there. And you got Johnny like lighting up the thing there. Very nice. Oh, actually providing light on Reed Richards as well.
That's right.
Reed kind of looks creepy.
He is creepy, and he should be.
Yeah.
He looks creepy. He is creepy, man. Did you see
his powers are gross?
It's pretty disgusting. It's even worse though, like in The Incredibles, where the mom is like the stretchy one.
Yeah.
That's even creepier. So, did you guys see that post that whoever's working on the film for this, they said that they cast the Invisible Girl, Sue Richards, and they're going to cast for the movie, and they're going to cast the rest of them around her because she's like the most important character in the story.
That's so stupid. Are you serious?
That's what they said. Yeah.
Wow.
So she was cast first, and everybody else is going to be cast around her to complement her because she's like the,
Marvel's
She's the
done.
star of the FF. That's their point.
They're done.
yeah.
They're
It's the
toast.
it's the woke ideology going forward in all their movies,
Wow.
where it's feminism or race baiting or both.
That certainly
so
wasn't
stupid.
Stan Lee's vision of her, where basically all he ever wrote her dialogue was, "Be careful, Reed.
I know, and they're like, go cook us some dinner.
Be
soup."
careful, Johnny." That's all he ever said.
My son Josh is reading all the essentials for FF, and he was just cracking up, he goes, she's a liability for like the first 45 issues of the FF. She doesn't even help, she's just always getting in trouble, and they have to save her, and
and she gets tired really quickly. And
yeah, exactly. Oh, Reed, I can't go on. Go without me.
yeah.
I thought, man, times have changed, haven't they?
Are they going to make Sue like a transgender black woman?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know. They didn't say who was cast as her. They just said that she was cast. So that's a good point. We have no idea. Paul Taylor says she did pick Reed over Namer, so there is that. But she was torn a little bit, wasn't she? She kind of dug the Submariner.
She was a little slut. She was married to me.
David, stop
What?
holding back. Tell us what you
Really, what's really on your mind there? Oh my gosh, that was she liked his little green shorts, I guess.
It'd be more interesting if they did the Mystery Men thing where she could only be invisible when nobody was looking at her. Everybody turn your back, and then I can become invisible.
Oh, that's good. I remember, you remember that series What If? The original one back in the 70s, right? I think this came out in like 74, 75.
Yeah, Hulk Smash is bringing that up in the chat.
Yeah, she ran off with Namer at the end of that one because Spider-Man joined the FF. And then I remember reading that as a kid, and I felt so bad for Reed. I was like, oh, that's a bummer.
She's such a whore.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah, Paul Taylor got it. Yeah, the chat is all over this one.
Yep.
Slut.
Yeah, we know how David feels about it. So let me switch cameras here to my Razor Kaio and remind everybody what a fabulous first place drawing I did last week. And we're not keeping track, by the way. It's not a competition, but if we were, that probably would have finished first. There you go. Get down here. I got to fix this thing. Okay.
Would have if I wouldn't have entered.
Even with your gun, man, you can't top McCready and the thing, man.
Which gun are you talking about?
Talking about his machine gun. Okay. Also, I want to share real quick, if I might.
Hold on, Aaron.
Yep.
I was thinking about your piece. We were talking about convention drawing, art styles. Your Carpenter piece is not a convention style art. You went all out on that. I mean, that could be in a book. That's not a convention sketch.
Yeah, but it's at the same time, though, it's a thank you. That was very nice. But I'm still using a marker like I would at a convention. But I'm getting to a point where this is starting to become my style.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's very bizarre because it.
You're doing finishes in the ink stage.
Yes, and I mean it's not as clean as it would be if it was a finished piece. I've still got the pencil stuff, and there's some quick drawing in here that maybe I would go back and revisit and make it a little bit sharper or whatever. But I've been doing like Wraith of God. I've been basically inking with a pen in this very kind of crosshatchy style here that's very it's not a controlled crosshatch like you do. It's much looser. And because I did so much of this stuff over when COVID hit, and I was doing so much live streaming, and I wanted to kind of develop a style that where I could finish the piece, in the period of time that I was actually on screen, rather than, like we do so often as we get carried away and they're like, oh, I got to finish it next week and bring it back. And so I've sort of developed this kind of looser style that I've actually kind of grown accustomed to, because I've always had admiration for guys like Ron Garney and even
Lee Weeks.
Yeah, Lee Weeks, who has that kind of rough, sort of loose inking style that is sort of still has all that sort of energy in it from that might have been there in the pencils.
You've evolved quite a bit since your pre-sludge days.
Oh.
You were pretty traditional. Now you're.
Well, a lot of it is, I got to give you credit, because you kind of opened my eyes to sort of looking at different ways to do things and not be so, I like comics to look like this, and they don't look like this, then I don't like them, kind of thing, and kind of have an appreciation for other styles. And yeah, I was very much into tight, slick, everything got to be perfect. And now I'm sort of going into this sort of, how can I do something looser that has maybe a little bit more energy in it, like the pencils, but still not look, sloppy or crappy,
Right. And that's the trick.
Right.
The masters, Frazetta, Al Williamson,
right.
The list goes on. Kevin Nolan, guys that have a loose, we call it loose style, but it's actually very controlled. It has, it's a mixture of both, and you try to mimic it, it's almost impossible because of their.
But there's a definite purpose behind what they're doing, and you can see it, and it works. And I'm trying to get more of that, because it's just, I don't know. I get, when I do something tight as this, now it's this tight because I wanted to show the pencils. And
I was going to say, you always fill in all the blacks.
Never. It'd just be X's, right? But this is how I used to pencil back in the day, when either you were inking me or someone else, or Matt Ryan, or whoever I worked with, was super tight like this. But now I do much looser, because I'm inking myself 90% of the time. So this is kind of a throwback. It was almost difficult to do this, because I'm just not used to penciling this tight. But for the last couple of years, I haven't been anyway. But
Bear Wolf wants to know your art supplies. What paper and pens did you use on the Carpenter piece?
This is just a combination of microns and the David Williams pen we call the Zig calligraphy pen, to get some of these heavier, darker lines here, because it's it has a broad
chisel.
Yeah, there you go. And so you can get a real thin line if you use it on its side, or you can get a real fat line if you use it, flat like that. And so that's where I filled in these blacks here in this big, heavy line right there. But then I turned around and did these sort of brush lines with it, but on its side. So I got the thin lines here, but so I'm still trying to figure out
that heavy part behind his ear, the hair. Did you use it there?
Yep.
Yeah, right there. That
and all this stuff in here. This though, I used microns mostly, because it was much more small, noodly stuff. But then the heavy areas here, I went back in with this Zig to get those darker areas, and some of the line weights, like on those dogs and stuff. I just used the Zig and just kind of, put a line weight in there to give it a little variance. It's not necessarily following any rhyme or reason like you do when you put in your line weights in regard to where your light source is coming from. Is just kind of to get some variation in the line quality.
I think that's that could be a title of an art book. I went back in with the Zig.
All right. So I'll be doing, it's not going to be a shock to anybody, but I'm going to be drawing Jezebel Jade. And, oh, look at, David Williams promoting Wraith of
Yeah,
God.
Yeah, before you start, I got a couple things. I wanted
Yeah.
to show this to Gary. If you could go.
Oh, brother. My jaw hurts just looking at that.
I had Gary pose for this.
So you're saying Gary is the Joker?
He's my Joker. But of course, I'm, exaggerating it a bit.
It was the underbite he requested that gave me a hard time.
Oh.
So that's going to be on a big, large painting. But I wanted to talk about this book right here.
Lay it on me, brother.
Wonderful book that I got. I was so impressed all around. It was really good. So I read it all in one sitting and I almost read it twice because I was just like, whoa, because it was tricking me for a second. And then I was like, oh, man. It was really good. I was really impressed with the writing. I know there are some people that you wrapped up certain things a little bit too fast. I don't agree with that at all. This is like almost a perfect book.
Oh, dude,
it's really good.
Thank you very much.
So your next one is going to be hard to top this one, but I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, David. I really appreciate you saying that. And bringing that up, the links to both Wraith of God Blood Hunters, which is the sequel, and David Williams' Bass Reeves West of Hell are in the description of this video. So you can visit those campaigns. I am pushing 137,000. Once we get to 140, you get the free Dan Lawless Wraith of God trading card gets thrown in there. So we want to push that up to 140. So spread the word. If you haven't backed, please consider doing so. And the same with David Williams. He is done with the artwork, by the way, on Bass Reeves. So it is in the hands of Allegiance, I assume getting colored and ready for the printer. So
yeah,
it won't be long.
Last minute colors and lettering. And it's going to be, I think they're going to be sending it to the printers at the end of this month or something.
Ooh,
so
awesome.
You guys better hurry.
Right.
Aside from David's artwork,
the
coloring is awesome on this. They're doing a lot of crazy stuff I've never seen before, and that's saying something.
Who's coloring that for you, David?
Mitch and Elizabeth Brightweiser are coloring it.
Oh, okay.
And it looks awesome.
Excellent.
So here's all the work from that book. 136 pages. Nice. So
you haven't shipped those to me yet?
Yeah. Soon enough. The shipping on this is going to be outrageous.
Yeah, how do you insure? If you were somebody bought it, how would you insure?
Yeah, right.
You could have a limit, right?
They probably cut you off, and say, "Oh,
yeah, no, they have like a $5,000 limit because I've sent stuff that was worth more than $5,000 through the mail, and I was scared as heck.
Yeah, I've done that too. Yeah. So, we take a second. I need to shout out to someone in the chat. Old friend of mine, Richard Bonacore. You got to say hi to him. He's a big comic book fan. I've known him for a long time.
Yeah, you introduced me to Richard. I know Richard. Hey, Richard. Thanks for joining us. Zaid Comics says Wraith was my book of the year last year. Well, thank you, Phil. I appreciate that. We had Phil on our Sunday show this last week, and he has a campaign going right now called The Lost Pages 3, and he has a nice rad Bisley cover, painted cover as his they have a regular cover, then they have the additional choice of the Bisley cover. So you guys want to check that out if you haven't. I believe he is shadow banned as well, so you have to get the direct link. But if you visit him, if you go to Zaid Comics, I think it's .com or something like that. Phil posted in there so people know where they can get that direct link to your campaign. All right, let's start the clock here. We're at 1:40, so got 2 hours. I'm going to be doing Jezebel, Jade. I don't know, David. What are you drawing?
I guess Johnny doing something. He's probably going to be ogling Jezebel Jade because, you know, preteen, you know, like, oh. Yeah, we should do a connected piece like that, like we did the
So
the
it's
Batman Graybeard'S.
it title it Johnny hitting puberty.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
He's all dope.
He's like, why did I suddenly notice Jezebel? And you know, Ray Spannon's like, hey, Johnny, get your eyes off my woman.
Yeah. He's all, Race, you don't have a show. I do. You're just a guest in my show.
That's right. You're just like a supporting character here, man. Don't get too carried away. I really wanted to draw the Mummy, but oh well. We'll do Jade.
I mean, after you mentioned the pterodactyl, I was thinking, I was like, oh, I work in a pterodactyl stuff, but we'll see.
There was so many great monsters and villains on that show. I mean, I loved the episode with the invisible monster that made out of electricity, and they had to throw paintballs on it so they could see it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was a scary one. I mean, as a kid, it was. And still the level of suspense they were able to put into those shows for a kid's cartoon is pretty remarkable. And I like that one with the that gremlin. I think they were like some Russian spies or something, but they had the one guy dressed up as a gremlin, and he would sit up on the house, and he murdered the one guy that Benton Quest was going there to see, and they had to solve that mystery. And it's like, Johnny's like, that gremlin moved. And they're like, come on, Johnny, quit smoking weed.
Yeah.
But he was right. And they had this little hut out in the graveyard, you know, where they would meet. That was a great one. Do you guys have any
covers that Dave Stevens did?
Oh,
Jonny Quest covers. Those would make you reach puberty if you were.
Yeah.
he had that one with it had Jezebel Jade on it. It was fantastic. That's the one I bought. I still have that in my collection. Did you guys have like a? I mean, I've got all of these Jonny Quests on DVD or whatever. And do you guys have like a favorite episode of that? I mean, was that like one of your favorite cartoons, or is it just me that?
I don't think I had a favorite of it. I just liked it all. I would just watch them in Jazona. I have a tape of them. That's how old mine goes back. So I have updated. So if I watch them at all, I watch them on YouTube or something like that.
I used to. I make my kids watch them when they were little. I made them.
Dang. What are you trying to punish them? You watch this.
You're not getting up. I don't care about your homework.
Exactly. You gonna watch some Jonny Quest.
And then with Star Trek too, I did the same thing too.
My dad didn't like me buying and reading comics, and some cartoons, but there was a few things that he liked that he would allow me to watch because he liked it too. Jonny Quest was one. Mad Magazine was another. He would read the Mad Magazine after I read it.
Oh, really?
So he was discriminating on what he banned from the house.
Right. Well, that's kind of all, you know, it's like, you're not watching this, you ain't watching that. And you're like, oh, I like this one. So you can watch this.
Yeah, exactly. It was the do's I say no.
Yes.
I
exactly.
do in a parenting. Yeah.
Exactly. But I used to judge cartoons that my kids could watch based on if I liked the animation or not.
Oh yeah, me same way.
I was like, you're not watching this crap because this animation sucks. And I remember when I guess my son first discovered SpongeBob, I was like, we're not watching this. This has got this. I hated the character design. I hated the animation until I started watching it. It was like the freaking funniest cartoon ever. And so I became a SpongeBob fan. And
Oh, see,
That's where I pump.
I have a beef with SpongeBob.
no, really, why is that?
Several years ago, I
Is there a goiter involved in this story at all?
no.
He said he touched me in the goiter.
Here's hold up a doll that has a goiter, and you point to where. I took a trip to Brazil a long time ago, and all the Brazilian children, when they heard my name, would laugh. It happened every time. And I was there for about a week, so I finally just had to ask, why are you laughing at my name? And it was because of SpongeBob's pet snail, Gary. That was their reference to Gary. Apparently SpongeBob was very popular in Brazil at that time, and so they loved the snail.
Poor Gary. Well, it's funny how
to this day, this is why I hate Brazilian kids.
No, I hate SpongeBob.
Well, it's funny how that you get a foreign perspective on something like that, because we probably guilty of the same thing. We'll hear certain names that trigger something in our mind that is funny, and it's like you're over in Germany and someone says their name is whatever, and you're like, like, why are you laughing at my name? You're like, well, there's this cartoon show that the guy's name is Guntar, and so Gary, did you? I mean, I don't want to call you out or anything, but you're a little bit older than David and I. So when did you start, watching cartoons? I mean, was it like about what year would you say? What?
You're all in the cave walls at.
Not that old, but you probably were like what, late 60s, maybe. You're not going to answer me.
No, before that. Yeah, we watched cartoons. I have an older brother and a younger brother. As far back as I remember, we watched cartoons. Back then, it was, like Bugs Bunny and.
Yeah, but were you watching like
Popeye, the black and white ones?
Yeah.
Where he would like mutter things under his breath, as he was.
Might remember, yeah. Well, we used to get those on the, like they used to have those cartoon shows. Like in Portland, they had like Rusty Nails. I don't know if you were familiar with that. It was like a kids show, but it was like
we had kid shows. I grew up in San Jose. We had kid shows like that, where we watched movies and cartoons and stuff.
Right. This was always before school, and they were always showing. So this was like, I was in first grade, and when was I in first grade? 71, I guess. So, they would show like mostly Popeye cartoons. Or if they showed Looney Tunes, it was never the good ones. It was always the really old ones before Bugs Bunny, and where they had they were like black and white, and it was like, come on, it's 1971. I got a color TV. Can't you show color cartoons? But on the kids show in the morning, they would always show these. They were usually Popeye or really old. But we didn't get like that first run of Hanna-Barbera cartoons, which must have been pretty cool when they came out, which would have been probably.
Oh yeah, it was all adventure and dinosaurs and.
Well, it was like their attempt to cash in on the Marvel mania that was sweeping sort of college campuses, and the whole comic book thing was kind of hot there for a while. And that was kind of like Hanna-Barbera's like attempt to kind of create their own Saturday morning, cartoon, or pardon me, comic book series, right? That was kind of what the whole vibe of that stuff was. And it seemed to be, I'm sure it was very fresh when it first came out, but it certainly, even in reruns in the early 70s, it was very cool, because we weren't getting, we had Super Friends, which I always thought was dumb. David's a fan of Super Friends, aren't you, David?
I am, but I know what it is, so I didn't have other expectations beyond.
But it was like, it's like we were talking about earlier, with Jonny Quest and stuff. You had guys with guns shooting at kids. I mean, that happens in today's reality, but it's for different reasons.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not that far from reality.
Yeah, but. I don't know, because I guess at that period of time, people felt that their parents would do a good job parenting, so therefore the violence wasn't that big of a deal in the cartoons, right? Where I guess that ain't the case anymore. Although I honestly, I don't know, maybe video games, but I've never seen cartoons as something that you could blame on kids being violent or whatever, right? Because we all grew up with that stuff. And
well, the whole Frederick Wertham thing, all of that stuff trickled down into the cartoons, and then the mom for kids and television and all that stuff, and them having that power, say, oh, we got this power to wield, that we could make a cartoon company stop doing whatever they do, and then they got drunk on that power, and it's went all the way to today, and it's the,
but isn't it funny, all this stuff they take away, the more rotten civilization becomes.
Yep.
It should be an indication to these people that, well, whatever we're changing is not really what the problem is, because it's not helping. It's just, and we all know what the problem is, but this kind of idea that, and it's a I guess it's an ideal that's sort of, I didn't mean to get all deep here, but that sort of becomes, it's sort of inherent with, when humanism kind of tries to take over. It's like, we're the ones who create the messes. We can't solve our own messy problems. We just make them worse. So, when you start abandoning, Judeo-Christian morality and things like that in society, then it sort of goes like it's going right now.
Aaron, I have a critique on your piece. I'm starting to see it flesh out.
Yeah.
You're giving her a girl's gun. Make it bigger, man. Make it
bigger. She had like these kind of stretch pants things on. But did she have boots? I guess it depended if she was outside. She wasn't just wearing one thing all the time. So I guess she'd be wearing boots, right?
You're not looking at reference?
Well, I've got some reference from, the Dave Stevens piece cuts off at the calves.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't really show anything. And then the one that I have that Toth did, or pardon me, was it? No, that was. What was Doug? Was it Doug Wildey? Yeah, Doug Wildey did the design for this. He's got her in like some tight pants, but he has like heels on her, so she's not really she's not wearing her adventure clothes. And the other ones are just 3/4 shots. They don't, when she's in her adventure safari clothes or whatever, it doesn't show what she might be wearing, but she would have to be wearing boots, right?
Probably, yeah. Or if it was today, she'd be wearing flip-flops.
Yeah, exactly.
As she goes into the mummy's cave.
Yeah.
I might draw a mummy over here. I'm not saying I won't. I'm just she's waiting for the mummy to come around the corner so she can. Although you couldn't shoot a mummy, right? Because he's already dead. How do you kill a mummy?
Request from Art of Roy to give an update on that golden restoration.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Do you?
I'm chipping away at it. It's too intense to, do it all, and so I've got about 2/3 of it done. Let's see if I can show some of it. Top panel's done.
Hang on a second. Let me blow you up.
Whoa.
Top panel's done. You can still see a little bit. You see here the brown ink that I'm trying to cover up.
I wish John Beatty was in here. He would occasionally pop in here and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to him about this. So this panel is done.
Yeah.
I probably have about 99% of the brown covered.
Beatty, Beatty showed up in my Sunday show. We were talking about the Punisher miniseries, so he is floating around the internet.
This side is done, but all this
is that a tank
the hard
down there?
part I've left.
What's that?
Is that a tank down there?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
A tank covered with jungle.
Oh my goodness.
I should have said Saturday, my Comic Art Convo, because I know James is watching and he's going, it was our show, not your show. So, but yeah, it was Saturday, I guess, that he was happened to chime in. What is that Star Wars piece behind you, Gary?
It's a job that I was working on for a cybersecurity. So they wanted to talk about modern gaming and how guys take advantage, people take advantage of that and send out phony subscriptions. And so they wanted me to show like popular game art.
Oh, that's cool. Like that.
Yeah, this guy was not easy because he's got, I don't know how they animated him. I mean, he's got so much Assassin's Creed stuff. I mean, it's crazy detail. I left a lot of the detail out. It still took me like several hours just to ink this one figure.
I was tripping on that boat behind him.
Yeah, I mean, geez, that's a lot of reference work, man. To pull that off. So is that what you? I mean, what do you do for most of your time? Are you still doing commissions and then you pick up some commercial work here and there, or?
Yeah, I have a couple commercial accounts where I do military stuff. I have one page a month of American Legion. I do a one-page comic in that. I've been working on that for a couple of years now. American Legion magazine, which is the if you're a member of the American Legion, you get the magazine, and it's the history. It's called Lore of the Legion. It's the history of the Legion and what they've done, and it's a pretty remarkable organization. But that's just one page a month, and then people that are associated with that also give me work that comes from the government, the DoD, and different government departments. And then stuff like this is from a company who does promotion for civilian contractors for the military. And this, like I said, this story is about cybersecurity. And then that's probably about 40% of my workload. The other 60 right now is commissions. Since I am no longer inking T-Jaw. Oh, speaking of T-Jaw.
Yes.
I wanted to ask the chat, of those of you that have seen pages from Truth, Justice, American Way that Gabe has been posting, that if you've noticed that he's not drawing it anymore, that he's had actually 2 different pencil artists. It looks to me like he's hired a couple of ghost pencilers that he's not crediting. And I just wondered if, people out in the chat have noticed that as well. It just seems kind of odd that he's not talking about who the pencil artists are.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't get updates anymore from that.
Yeah, I don't either. Somebody sent that to me. I used to be on the email list, and I'm not anymore.
Yeah, I'm not either. I don't know what happened there. But hey, somebody's dog besides mine is ruining
Yeah,
the
it's
show.
my Hodge. It's my bandit. Hold on, I gotta go check.
The mummy's coming up the walkway. Better. Yeah, I got to be honest. I haven't been keeping up with what's going on with that.
Yeah, Marcus, I'm not sure. Marcus says, I was sure if was his pencils. I'm not sure what you're saying there.
Let me see if I can translate.
I gotta get one of those.
Yeah, he's saying he wasn't sure if it was his pencils when he saw him posted.
Okay.
Let's see. Ellie Munoz says art looks good. I've seen his work on Beef Law. I don't think it's a ghost penciler. Okay.
No, it is. It absolutely is. There's no question.
It's
Okay.
it's 100%.
My question is, has anybody else noticed it?
Well, apparently Ellie Munoz hasn't noticed. Marcus Killiger is saying I meant I wasn't sure. So that seems to be kind of the Danky Frankie says I never look at updates. I want to be surprised. There's a public update from November, Random McRanderson.
You're gonna get surprised. I'm not drawing it.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anyone saying that they've noticed it.
Guess people really don't care about the art. What are we doing here?
Well, it could be they haven't seen enough of Gabe's pencils to notice the difference either.
Yeah, I probably have an unfair advantage. I inked some of his pages, and so when I see other artwork, I can tell immediately. I mean, at a glance, I could tell that it's not him. I worked on a project with him off of T-Jaw, and where I was doing finishes on his stuff, and so I'm very familiar with his work.
Yeah, that's probably more than likely the case, I would guess. Did they have stretch pants in the 60s? I know that was kind of a
Yes.
I mean, they must have, right? Because
Yeah. It was like the remember the
Margaret film.
oh yeah, that's true. I guess they did, didn't they? Those kind of black ones that went to about, they were like slit down by the calf, and they went
that
about
was like the beatnik attire, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, you know what they say, what especially in style, what comes around goes around, or what goes around comes around, or whatever. Something to that effect. Everything keeps coming back in style eventually if you wait long enough. Shelley was watching, there's some detective show. It's on Netflix. I think it's on Netflix. Don't quote me on that though. But it's a Canadian show that takes place around the turn of the century, from the 19th to the 20th century, not the 20th to the 21st century. And it's kind of a police detective show. And she was commenting that the women's fashions at that time, they had the real high neck collar, the long sleeves, long skirts, dress things, so it's like they're completely covered. But then she looked at the men's styles and they go, they really haven't changed that much. And it's funny how, the women's styles have just radically changed from decade to decade, where men have pretty much, tie, vest over, sport coat, or not sport coat, but dress coat over the top of that. And that's kind of the look that, but I also told her, I said, well, women can do like a million different things with their hair. Us guys have about 3 options, And for guys, it was mostly where was the hair parted? You know what I mean? You part in the middle, you part to the side, do you feather it back, or do you just so?
Mm-hmm. That's funny.
And that's why they have, any department store's got 10 times as much stuff for women's clothing as it does for anything else. And my wife's got plenty of clothing.
Careful.
Okay, y'all.
Be careful.
Yeah, clothing and shoes, man. It's just I got a pair of tennis shoes that I wear. I got like a pair of dress shoes. Then I got 2 pair of like casual kick around shoes. That's it. My wife has like 200 pairs of shoes. I'm still wearing clothes I had in high school. Well, that's not entirely true, but if she didn't buy me clothes, I would not. I would still be wearing whatever I bought when I was single 20, 30 years ago. It's just like I would rather go buy an old comic book than a pair of pants.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
How many comic books does she have?
Let me think here. She used to have a collection of Sergio Aragone's Gru, and because when Shelley and I first met and were dating, she would like come to all the comic book shows, right? She thought that was really cool or whatever. And then she would meet these guys, these other creators that were, pretty big deals. Like, Sergio was, kind of the guy in the late 80s, early 90s there with Gru the Wanderer and all that stuff he was doing. And so they would come to Richard Finn shows in Portland. Gary, I know you're familiar with those.
Oh yeah.
And she would meet whoever the celebs were, and the comic book celebrities, as well as the TV celebrities that we would run into or whatever. And so, and Sergio is just like a chick hound, right? And so he was very friendly with Shelley, and when we were getting married, he told her, he said, I'll do a drawing as a wedding present for you guys, So because she knew, Sergio, she started collecting Gru the Wanderer, right? So we got his first appearance and all that kind of stuff, which I think was in Destroyer Duck or one of those weird Pacific comics that Kirby was doing back in the early.
Yeah.
And
That was an odd comic book.
yeah, Destroyer Duck was
Yeah.
very strange.
Yeah.
And so we had this collection going, and then she remembered I think we were at San Diego one year, and Sergio had this huge freaking line, right? People, waiting for his signature and whatever. And Shelley was standing in line. She wanted to go up and say hi, right? And he sees her in the line. He's like, Shelley, come back here, come back. So she was like, everybody's looking at her like, who is
Making
this
a scene.
Yeah. And so she went and sat by the table with him for a while and talked to him while he was doing these sketches and stuff. And that's when he told her, oh, yeah, I'll do you a drawing for your wedding. And he never did.
Oh
So she got so pissed, she threw out all the Gru comics.
no!
And that was the end of Shelley's comic collection.
Wow.
David, random Mick Randerson is asking if you're drawing with a Pentel 207. Pentel 207.
Zig calligraphy pen.
So he's going with the Zig. He's unafraid of his ink. And that big blunt edge.
I made such a big deal about hyping them, so I better use them.
Yeah, but the thing is, I said this before on the last show, the ink in that stuff is really dark. It's much better than the ink quality and a lot of the other markers I've used. It's just way darker. It feels more like India ink when you put it on.
Hold on a second. Citizen Ronan says, and Aaron laughed because he finally, Shelley knew what it was like to be Aaron.
That's right. Now somebody finally forgot her instead of just forgetting me all the time and remembering her. So,
oh, look at that! AJ is saying that he was reading my inking book last night.
All right.
Did you learn anything?
That's the thing I was going to say. But did you learn anything?
Yeah.
I am drawing the mummy in here. I can't help it. I know I'm just asking for trouble, but
you could be lurking in the shadows, right?
Yeah, well, he's coming around the corner. Jade's waiting for him. And,
okay, good. Perfect.
There he comes. Well, he should be taller than her, but he's back in the distance. So let me see if I'm going to put him about right.
Aaron, did you learn nothing from the Frazetta stream? You're not going to Stevens up those hips and legs?
Yeah, you were busting Kelsey's chops about.
Well, yeah, but I'm not drawing Frazetta. I'm not,
Hey. They're all Frazetta women.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Well, it's much easier to do like the big hips when you're doing a butt shot, because you make that butt big and round, and
well, the hips, the legs go with the hips. You can't have, you'd have to basically redraw her whole bottom half if you're going to do that.
Thicken her up a little bit. You guys are going to give me crap about it. Now,
like big butts, I cannot lie.
David, who is this Kelsey person you speak of?
I don't know. It just slipped out. I think I was thinking someone else.
Yeah, every once in a while somebody will ask about Kelsey. We know as much as you do.
No one has heard anything from him. No one has. Maybe Barron has. I should ask Barron if he's heard from him at all. But this is Kelsey just does this, man. He goes off the grid for weeks at a time, months at a time, and then just reemerges. And we assume he's working frantically on Nexus. And I know he was complaining to us that he was getting behind and that he shouldn't be streaming. And I kept telling him, I said, no, but this is like a relaxation stream. Kind of take your mind off the pressure of Nexus. And he's like, yeah, that's right. You need a little bit of that. And then he disappeared.
He's like, yeah, sure. Aaron, sure.
Yeah, that's great, Aaron. Goodbye. Actually, he didn't even say goodbye. He just disappeared.
Sure did. He's all deuces.
So he will be back, though. That's the thing. You just don't know when. But Kelsey will return. But I keep
for whatever reason he'll have for being gone, we will absolutely accept, because he's he's got 10 pots boiling on the stove artistically.
Yeah.
He's always has a bunch of projects.
Yeah, and every time he comes back, he has a whole bunch of art that you never seen. You're like, oh, and you forget any kind of animosity that you may have had. And say, hey, where were you? Oh man, this art is awesome.
Yeah, somebody in the chat, Aaron, is criticizing your knees.
Well, anybody criticizing my knees doesn't know what they're talking about. Who is it?
Hold on a second. I lost.
He was just saying they're old. You got old knees.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Aaron, just do like most people do today. Plastic surgery. Everyone wants to look like a weirdo. That's not proportional. Well, I don't know if anybody gets plastic surgery to put more fat in their butt and their hips, do they? Maybe they do now.
Random McCranderson.
Oh, Random
The
McCranderson.
hips are okay. It's the knees on Aaron's drawing that's giving me the heebie-jeebies. What's wrong with her knees?
Just because I'm indicating her knees, maybe that he doesn't like it. I don't know. I've always done that, though.
That they're knocking in. But that's like a cute little womany thing.
Yeah.
Have them be knock-kneed or whatever.
Yeah,
if you have her legs, this is going to sound horrible, so I apologize, but if you have her legs spread too far apart,
yeah.
you can lose the hips a little bit. So that's why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it, so I don't lose the hip, regardless of what you guys think. That mummy on Jonny Quest was creepy looking. Because it showed kind of his decayed face kind of showed through a little bit.
Yeah, Citizen Ronan says she looks like a McGinnis woman. That's high praise.
That is. I'll take that any day. You other guys quit picking on me.
Well, maybe he meant Guinness woman, a drinker.
Yeah.
Could be. I don't know what Jade what she was up. She was always smoking that long cigarette, though. Of course, that was cool back in the 60s.
She stopped smoking sausages to smoke cigarettes.
Oh my!
They call her Jezebel for a reason.
You'd think Andy Smith was in this group.
Yeah,
Something like that.
Jezebel, she's got to live up to that name.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, David has this thing where when he starts tightening up and inking, he leans in so we can't see his drawing, and so no one is criticizing David.
There, I'll move your friggin' head.
He knows what he's doing. He likes the.
Here's some promotion for you.
That's right. He gets the Wraith of God back there. That was all part of the agreement. That give David a hat and he has to wear it on camera all the time.
Mm-hmm.
What's that? Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Charlie Day. He was trying to put him on a dating site, and they asked him what his turnoffs were, and one of his turnoffs was people's knees. He was like, what? People's knees? I mean, why don't they cover them up? Okay.
Well, I will say this, that if a girl doesn't have nice knees, it can ruin a great set of legs. So there is something to be said for that. But I don't think Jezebel here has bad knees. So I don't know what.
You want to hear a crazy rock star story about knees?
Sure.
Okay, remember the Batman 89 movie?
Batman what?
89, the Michael Keaton Batman.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. Kim Basinger was cast to play Vicky Vale.
Right.
And she was the hot thing at the time. And then
right. Sure.
Everybody was, approaching her. And Michael Keaton kind of stepped to her, tried to get with it. And that didn't happen. And then she ended up, and John Peters, the producer, stepped to her and she liked him and she got engaged to him. And then Prince got hired to do the music for the movie.
Right.
And then who did she end up with? She broke her engagement to John Peters and moved in with Prince.
She really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then they had this uh, 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 boyfriend, girlfriend thing going for a little while. And she literally moved from where she was into his house. And
I did not
they
know
did the
this.
soundtrack. Allegedly, one of the soundtracks that they did, they were literally having sex on one of the soundtracks, which is strange. But
Like for the soundtrack for the Batman movie?
yeah.
So one of the tracks in there, they were in the background. He put in them having sex.
Yeah, like all of her moaning and all this other kind of stuff was actually in the studio for real. But
you know this, that she was being taped for this?
Yeah, she knew it too. And so Prince is notorious about getting bored with women after he's finished. And he dumped Kim Basinger. Now, how crazy is that?
Only Prince can pull that off.
Yeah, it's like she's like one of those where you're like, yeah, she could eat crackers in the bed and you're all right, but he said to another band member why he got rid of her. He said because she has wrinkly knees.
Oh, I can see that.
That's the reason he gave.
That's the reason he saw her knees and was like, ugh. And said, peace out.
Well, we know
That's
Prince can afford to be picky, man, I guess, right?
I guess so. I'm like, whoa.
I didn't go out with a girl once in high school because I saw her in shorts and she had bad knees. I couldn't get past it.
Really?
Yeah. It's true. She had everything else going for her, if you know what I'm saying. But I just
Shelly, you got sexy knees.
Shelly's got really good legs.
That's what I'm hearing.
And I guess if you make a decision like that, you're automatically, just by default, you're saying you're a leg man, right? Because if you can't, if a girl's got like large boobs and good face, but then her legs aren't great, then you're kind of like, I can't do it. Then I guess that means you're a leg man. So I guess I am. When push comes to shove.
So you like that ZZ Top song?
Yeah.
She's got legs.
He knows how to use them. Let's see. Shelly was an athlete. She played like volleyball at Oregon State, and so yeah, she was she's pretty fit.
Gary's like that too.
Like what?
Like he'll look at a woman, if she got a chipped toenail, she got to go. His pimp game, he runs it tight. He's like, gotta look all right. Got premium hose.
Well, yeah, you look all right, but let me see your feet.
Yeah. Let's see what those toenails look like. So,
when's the last time you had a pedicure?
Baby, that looks busted. You got to go.
And that's how I would say it too.
That's right.
Gots to go.
Gots to go. Oh my goodness. Oh, I had a point there and I lost it now because it got me laughing. I was going to, what was it? Gosh darn it. All right, well. Oh, then she ended up, Kim Basinger ended up with, what's his face?
Okay, hold on a second.
David.
Huh. Someone in the chat is picking up on what you said. Paul Taylor is saying, nobody talks about Bo Derek's feet, Gary. I didn't say that. David said I said that. Out of your mouth is gospel. Now it's a thing.
That's right. Dude, this is what happens. I was on Comicsgate Kings like 2 Mondays ago, and Ethan, for some reason, called me Aaron Lopez. And I said, what did you call me? He goes, oh my gosh. He goes, I meant Aaron Lopez. I don't know what I was thinking. And suddenly I became Lopez. And it stuck. So that's why I go on some streams with my a man called Lopez as my name. So yeah, once it's been said online, doesn't matter if it's true or not, it becomes gospel.
But it is true that Gary is a pimp. Don't take the cap and the shirt like that. Nah, that's not how he really dresses, y'all.
That's my online persona.
That's right.
Gary's a pimp. Oh, that's good stuff. Only here on Graybeard's studio can you get this kind of, I don't know, dare I call it entertainment? Oh, man. So my son texts me and he says, this is a big month for movies. And I was like, is it though? And he says, like, I guess Shazam 2's coming out and with something Gary.
Oh boy.
Aviator search says Gary hides the perm.
Yeah, that's what I'm laughing at. Well, read that. Go up a couple. Dan's
People are updating Wikipedia to include Gary Martin's foot fetish now.
Oh man.
Random Anderson says, Aaron Lopresti, your screen name at the time said something Lopez. Yeah, I changed it to a man named Lopez, which I do that now every time I go on with Ethan. I go as a man called Lopez. So that's pretty. Yeah, so I was going to say that Kim Basinger then ended up with, the guy who just shot that woman on the set of his movie. Help me out here. One of the many brothers. Baldwin, yeah. She ended up with Alec Baldwin, right? For a while, anyway.
She divorced him, too.
Well, yeah. I said for a while she was with him.
Yeah. He tried to make it out like she was the crazy one. It was like, oh, really?
Yeah.
I started to think, I don't think maybe that's exactly what was going down there, but
Aaron, you're breaking the handgun self-defense code where you're peeking around the corner with the firearm.
Well, I don't know that the Mummy is all that
firearm savvy.
I'm not sure that he recognizes what that might be there.
You just move the corner line over just a tad, and you'll solve that problem.
Yeah, I know, but I'm butting up too close to the Mummy. That's why I did it.
I'm nitpicking. That's working on military projects. That's the kind of stuff that I get.
Oh yeah, man, art directors are the worst. It doesn't matter.
Well, military guys, they know their stuff, and it's a culture that civilians aren't aware of. So I'm learning a lot.
Well, I take the old Frazetta, approach where it's like, this is my world that I'm creating here. We can do whatever I want, and you guys accept it.
I was working on a Pappy Bollington project recently, and boy, did I get it about the Corsairs. Apparently, in the Black Sheep Squadron, they didn't really fly their own planes. They just flew whatever plane was working at the time. So they would just jump in a working Corsair and take off in it. So that's how slapped together the squadron was.
So basically, you were drawing the proper plane, and they're like, no.
Yeah, in this campaign, he wasn't flying that one. He was flying. It was like, they know this stuff. I mean, it's they're hardcore.
Well, I remember that show with Robert Conrad. Remember that Baba Black Sheep, whatever it was called?
Yeah, there's a great story that Robert Conrad tells about Pappy Bollington. It's on YouTube, where Pappy Boyington and Robert Conrad were in a parade together, and I won't tell the story, you guys. If you're interested, look it up on YouTube. It's hilarious.
Well, how long is the story? Tell the story.
No. I wouldn't do it justice. I would be paraphrasing. If you're interested in that kind of thing, look up the Robert Conrad Pappy Boyington, where he's talking about the parade. Pappy Boyington was a character.
Well, he had to have been. He got his own TV show.
Yeah.
Blacklist Universe, of course, that's Mike Miller, is roaming around the chat. Says, I named one of my first cats Pappy because of that show.
Oh, really? Wow.
There you go. So is Mike showing his age? Then is he older than maybe we think he is? I mean, that was a 70s show, or was it an 80s show? I can't remember. It was, to me, it was a 70s show, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, that's Black Sheep was a cool show. A lot of the actors were also in Magnum PI. I think it was the same production company, and they used a lot of the same actors in it.
You can always tell that, if you go back and look at old television shows, it's like, oh yeah, these guys were, or even the modern ones. There was remember that show Lost, right? That wasn't on that long ago.
I never got into it. It just, to me, Lost, they just kept dragging it out. They didn't pay out soon enough for me, so I gave up on it.
Who's making a phone call?
Me.
Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
We can hear you, right?
Yeah, I know. My wife lost her phone, and I had to call her.
Anyway, the show Lost, which I watched religiously, and then was so pissed off at the ending. It was so bad that it was clear. And I told this to my son Josh. We started watching it. He was in grade school, and he was in high school by the time the show was over. And
wow.
So it was like 6 years or something, right? And so I keep saying this is 6 years of my life I'll never get back, but it was just the ending was atrocious, and it was clear they had no idea where they were going. They kept introducing like these cool ideas, but they had no plan on how they were ever going to pay them off. And that became ridiculously clear at the ending of the show. And I even said that to Josh. I said, man, they're digging themselves some pretty big holes here, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to get out of them.
That's why I left the show before. I felt that coming. I said, you know what? I got to dip out. But there's people that hung in there, and I was like, you didn't see this coming?
Oh, yeah.
I saw it coming, but I stayed till the bitter end regardless. But anyway, you look at that show, and then like half the people that were on that show appeared in various roles in what was that Once Upon a Time show? Was that what it was called? With the kind of the fairy tale show, but they crossed over from fairyland into this town. They were real people in this town, and my daughter watched that show like crazy, and that was quite the thing there for a while. But a lot of guys from that show ended up in that, that fairy tale show. So it's kind of weird.
But how are people like that? Was it Lindelof who wrote that Lost or whatever?
Yeah, Lindelof. And
how does he get work after that monumental failure?
Well, wasn't Abrams involved in that too?
Him too. How do they keep getting work? And really high profile work.
You fail upwards, right? That's
the problem with all of this stuff.
It's who you know, right? And television shows. Remember, Lost was a hit TV show. Just because the ending sucked, these executives, they don't know quality. They're just like, hey, this is a hit show. This guy must be great, And then they let him write more stuff that's crap.
That first Godzilla movie we did, that was straight garbage, but it made money. I mean, that shouldn't be the standard. They should have discernment to say, okay, we need to listen to the fans because they didn't make a second one after that. But by all intents and purposes, they should have because of how much money it made.
Yeah.
So sometimes they choose to have discernment, you know.
Yeah, well, but you can't factor in who knows who and why they're buddies and all that kind of stuff too. Factors into so much of that, and who gets hired and who doesn't.
I'd fire everybody.
Well, I know.
Paul Taylor's asking a Star Trek question, and I am purposely not reading it.
That is disrespect. Aaron, how do you like the JJ Star Trek reboot movie? I have to admit, even though I did not think his take on Kirk was correct, I gave it leeway because I figured, well, it's an alternate universe, right? So maybe Kirk didn't turn out the same as he did in the TV show because things were altered in his life because his dad was killed and all that kind of stuff. I liked it, but then they got worse and worse as they went along. But I did like the reboot, the first one.
I look at them the same way you did. I look at them as this is an alternate universe, and like the butterfly effect happened in their life that it's not the same sperm as the other one. So that little tap in the ripple of time or whatever made something change, but he just still happened to be named James T. Kirk in some kind of weird way. And everything is just slightly off.
Right.
So I look at it through that lens.
That's how I looked at it too. And I felt his Kirk was still at times a little too irreverent and too irresponsible. But
Aaron, you're taking me back to the Studio Source days where you and Matt would just go on and on and on about Star Trek.
Well, we used to do our impersonations of Star Trek too while we were doing it. So
because it was like an open cubicle kind of arrangement, so you could hear conversations on the other side of the room.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys would talk about Star Trek for hours.
Nerds.
Well, I mean, we are in comics for a living, right? So it's kind of hard to kind of pretend you're not a nerd. It's to some degree. We obviously like this stuff, or we wouldn't be doing it. So
I hate this stuff.
Yeah, the chat's blowing up now about Star Trek.
Now, wait a minute, David. You say you hate this stuff. You hate Star Trek, but you don't hate comics.
I hate everything about comics and Star Trek and Star Wars. This is all bullshit.
I hate Star Trek comics are the worst. I hate comics. I hate Star Trek, and Star Trek comics are the worst. Coming from a guy who did Star Trek covers and
Star Trek, the way Aaron likes it.
That's what my dad would say, Star Trek. He called Spock Spark. He's like, "What are you watching this Spark thing?"
Spark.
It's like my dad. My dad was just like this total practical, science fiction or fantasy. Just had it just did not register in his world. You know what I mean? It's like.
Yeah, you're getting requests for Star Trek impressions.
I haven't practiced my Kirk in years. Yeah, we would do dueling Kirk, and he did.
Yeah, that's right. You guys would go back and forth. Yeah, you have long conversations as Captain Kirk.
I don't know what to say. I used to be able to do pretty good. If someone gave me like something to read, like a script or just like a news statement or something, and I could read it, then I could do my Kirk better rather than just kind of winging it. So we used to do a lot of that. We actually had an answering machine. I don't know if you remember this or not, where we put the message was on there. It was on there for a little bit, and where Matt and I did this Star Trek thing.
I don't remember that.
Oh my gosh, it was so when people called, the machine would go and he would do McCoy and I would do Kirk, and it would say, let me see, how did it go? I would start with Kirk and I'd go, Bones, it was Bones, I've been bitten by the Gorn or the Mugatu or something. That was the Gorn. But it was
Get it right. Come on.
well, I'm trying to remember exactly. There's Bones, I've been bit in the butt by the corn or something like that. And he would go, well, you better take your pants off. I gotta suck the poison out. And then Kirk would go, but Bones, the bite of the corn is not poisonous. And then there was this dead silence, and he'd go, leave a message.
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember that. Although
that was our Studio Source answering machine for a while.
I got in big trouble with that answering machine.
Yeah, you sure
with
did.
you. And so I kind of blocked out my memory of the answering machine.
Oh man. People are like, what's an answering machine? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It was one of those pranks that went too far with the answering machine.
Yeah. The good old days. Gary the prankster. Have we ever told your Sam Stranko story online? I think you should tell it again, Gary. So people remind you, or you can remind people of the twisted mind of Gary Martin.
I don't come out in a very good light.
I know, that's why I love it. It's so funny. It's like one of your it's one of your many practical jokes that just did not quite turn out the way you wanted to, but it is hilarious.
Okay, well, we have a few minutes. I can tell this.
Yeah,
I'll try
Gary,
to get
tell us
the
this.
short
If you guys
version.
haven't heard this, you will die.
The
laughing.
short version. Trying to think of time period. It's when I was living in San Jose before I moved to New York to become a professional. So I had aspirations.
Like 19 or something, right? 19
Pardon?
or 20? You were like 19 or 20, weren't you?
Yeah. I had aspirations. So I was going to local conventions. And this convention was in San Jose, and it was a small convention, but they had Kirby and Frank Bruner and Roy Thomas and, people like that. It was a 2-day convention. I was going to both days, and to get in the convention, you had a name tag that you would have to write in your own name on the name tag. So I went on Saturday, got the name tag, and that name tag was also good for Sunday. So my brother and I went on Sunday, and so he had to get a name tag for Sunday. So he was about to write his name on the name tag, and I said, don't just write your name, write something goofy like Sam Sterenko. And he said, yeah, good idea, except your printing is better than mine. Why don't you do it? And so I printed out Sam Sterenko in Jim Sterenko's signature style, like the block lettering.
I already know where this is going.
Oh, so funny.
So my brother sees that. He goes, yeah, that looks really good, but I'm not wearing it. And I was like, what do you mean you're not wearing it? He says, there's no way I'm going to wear that and walk around the convention. And I thought, okay, I'll wear it. And so I gave him my name tag. So I'm walking around the convention with a Sam Sterenko name tag. And I'm thinking, Sam Sterenko, people are going to see that and laugh. I'm walking around, and I'm a kid. I'm 19, 20 years old. People started walking up to me and asking me for my autograph. And I thought it was kind of flattering, so I would give them my autograph. But I wasn't signing Sam Sterenko. I was signing my name. But my name is I don't know if you've seen like my name on artwork. It's very sloppy. I used to work at a warehouse where I was, shipping, receiving. And so you have to sign your name all day. So my signature is fast and sloppy. So people couldn't read it. So this is going on, it's like after about the 10th person is, coming up to me asking for my autograph. I'm noticing a pattern until, I was going to say I'm kind of getting into, signing autographs until this group of kids come up to me, led by a kid in a wheelchair.
Oh.
Excuse me, Mr. Sterenko. I know you're not here as a guest, but it would be so amazing if you could draw me a Captain America.
There you go, Paul Taylor. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, exactly. So this kid in a wheelchair wants Sam Sterenko, but he, obviously didn't see the Sam part. And I don't know how I pulled off, a 19-year-old kid as Sterenko. But the look in the kid's eyes, he was like,
still haunts your nightmares.
He was starstruck, and I didn't want to disappoint him, so I did a sketch of Captain America for him. Albeit, this is my pre-professional days. It was pretty crummy.
Wow.
But he didn't care. I mean, he was so thrilled, and they, this little group, they kind of floated away. I mean, they were so happy that he got a sketch of Captain America, and that's when I started hiding my name tag. After that, I did actually feel shame. So I was walking around like with a book, like a comic up here, so people couldn't see my name tag, and I was asking Kirby for an autograph, and I know he knew the real Sterenko, so I did it. The ending to that story is years later, after I moved to New York from California, lived there for 6 years, became a comic book professional, moved back. I attended a comic book convention in the San Jose area, and I saw the kid in the wheelchair again.
No.
Yeah. So I quickly turned around and avoided him for the rest of the convention.
Ran for the hills.
Yeah.
He's like, wait a minute.
From the kid in the wheelchair.
Oh boy, that's
yeah. So yeah, I defrauded. Yeah, that's Citizen Ronan. You
fraud to the disabled. Shame.
You didn't see the look on his face. I couldn't bring myself to disappoint him. To this day, he probably thinks he has a drawing from
Sterenko. Paul Taylor says, that was like when I was playing in a chess tournament against a kid in a wheelchair. I even had to move some of his pieces. I still beat him, though. Oh, my gosh.
Sterenko, you did this drawing. I felt a tingle in my foot.
Citizen Ronan says, and that kid was Ethan Van Sciver. Oh.
Yeah, he grew up to be a famous.
Hey, Repairman Jack finally fixed his name. He was saying Repairl Man Jack forever. He says, ahoy, Aaron, David, and Gary. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it, you guys. Oh, my gosh. What was that? That's like kicking Tiny Tim's legs from under him. I love it.
I really wish I would have kept that Sam Sterenko name tag. I really do.
Oh, that's still just one of the most classic pranks gone wrong stories. I mean, it's like that's like a movie script. That's how you'd write that scene. The kid in a wheelchair pulls up and you're like, oh no.
But it's just the thing, he had a entourage. It was like him and 5 or 6 of his friends.
So
it was him and his crew. They were the Crips.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yo, what up, cuz?
Oh my gosh. Is this where I yelled disavow, disavow?
Yeah, random.
Hey, everybody could get it as far as concerned.
Is asking if I signed Stereco. No, I signed my name. Like I said, as I have a very sloppy signature, so he couldn't have read it anyway.
So he you meant to make sure it's extra sloppy, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's funny. I've actually seen some signatures that I know are, a certain creator, and you just can't even read it. You're like, if I didn't know that this was, so and so, it's like I wouldn't, you wouldn't be able to recognize it or decipher it. In fact, I can't remember where I just recently saw something, and the signature was like I could tell by looking at the artwork that it was, I think it was golden. I saw a golden piece, and I was like, I knew it was golden, and yet the signature on it was so sloppy. It was like indecipherable that it was golden that signed it, but you assume it was. But maybe it was you, Gary, again. But
I don't recall impersonating Golden. I don't recall that. Well, he's another guy that had several different signatures on his art through his career. Not as many as David, but so
I had a lot too, because I was constantly looking for something that I could call my own, and I had a golden imitation signature for a while, where you used to do that circle.
Oh yeah, it was like a logo.
Yeah, I used to sign like that, but I'd put AL in the middle of the circle, and stuff like that, and it was like, oh, that's so lame. And then I was I was doing a lot of painting for a while, and I was trying to figure out a signature that I could do in a painting, with a paintbrush, as well as a written one. So I used to sign my books in cursive, like you'd sign a check, and I was like, this is stupid. I'm not doing that anymore. So I finally got a Lopresti signature that kind of based on Frazetta that I've kind of stuck with. And
yeah, I've got two signatures, one for art and one for documents.
Right. But it took me a long time, and I went through a lot of different signatures. And
hold on, Dan's Dad is saying now we're updating my Wikipedia page to include a career in art forgery. Well, see, I told you, I was not going to come off in a very good light after telling that story.
It's such a great story, though. Oh, it goes beyond.
We'll have to retell the Captain America gig story, but not today.
Save it for another time. Don't want to overload the senses.
Yeah, I come off as Darth Vader in that story too.
Yeah, I know, it's kind of like what's a good story about Gary where he's like,
Well, the story where I make a kid in a comic shop cry. That's actually a good story.
Oh,
but I'll save that for next time.
Oh, wait. Did you make him cry for joy or cry I can't remember. I remember this story, but I can't remember how it goes.
It was at a book signing. I made him cry.
He probably told me he thought of his artwork. Well, see, that's what Gary would do. I mean, if you want to get an actual critique on your art, take it to Gary, because he will not lie to you.
Well,
he said, do you want an open hand or closed hand? Sheesh.
Oh my gosh. Well, that was the one thing I always sort of like. At first, I was like, Gary, how can you say that? But then I had sort of admired you for actually being able to tell people the truth about their artwork.
Well, sometimes we would in the Studio Source days, we would have all our tables together,
right,
at a show,
right.
And I remember, you remember this one guy? He was older. He was older than all of us, and he would come every year and show us the same samples as coloring samples.
Yes.
And he would go around and get critiques from everyone in the studio. He would just go down the line.
Yes.
Oh, hey,
Yep.
Dan Lawless is in the house. Hey, Dan.
What's he doing?
And
So this guy, we would remember him from previous years because he would bring his samples and they were the same samples from the previous year and the year before that and the year before that. He would get all these critiques and then not do any of it. And we would see him coming and everyone would like act like they were busy and look the other way.
Right. Yeah.
And I was thinking that people like that who are, nearing middle age, have responsibilities, their work isn't getting any better, perpetuating their dream that they're going to be in comics, a comic book artist, a professional one day when they clearly don't have, any kind of talent or ability. That perpetuating that dream is actually, not doing them a favor. It's doing them a disservice.
Gary.
That's when I said, okay, people in that category need someone to say, hey, look, you're wasting your time. Because this guy wanted to be a professional. He wanted to be a professional, and there's no way he could have, he just.
That's not fair for you to say, because if a person thinks that they could do it, they could do anything.
Well, he proved that he can't improve.
No, Gary.
He's bringing the same thing year after year after year and not improving at all.
No, Gary. If you think you could do it, you could do anything.
I was hoping you wouldn't go there. I'm not going to touch that.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I am not
heard
going to touch that.
If you think it, you could do it.
Yeah.
No matter what anyone says.
But I don't. Okay, so this guy didn't think it hard enough. That was his problem.
You needed to send him home and say, you need to think about this a lot.
Think about it harder. So I just said, hey, look, this is not working for you. You've been at this for years. You spend your energy on something that you could actually achieve.
I think you made the guy cry, didn't you?
No, I don't remember that.
He was stunned.
No, I think some people in our studio was crying. They couldn't.
Yeah, maybe we were stunned. I don't
Crying,
remember.
laughing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You're like, oh my God.
You're terrible. The guy went into the convention bathroom and you just heard pop.
But if someone who unrealistically, keeps pursuing something, I don't think we're doing them a favor.
Well, yeah, I never wanted to be the one to tell somebody that, though.
Oh no, it's hard. It's very difficult.
Not for you, but for the rest.
No,
of us.
no, for me, it's just very difficult. But I mean, I thought about it for a year. When I thought, okay, if he comes back next year, I'm going to give it to him straight.
I'm going to give him a straight shoot.
Yeah.
But see, that's not, because I've been around you before when I remember there was this kid came up, and this actually I think was at a Portland show, and I mean, he was 16 or something, right? And he really thought he was all that, and his parents were with him. I don't know if you remember this or not.
I may recall this one where the kid stunk.
Yeah.
Okay, let me tell my version. No, you tell your version and I'll tell my version.
Well, no, I was just...
and his art wasn't good either.
kid, not only do you smell, but your art stinks too.
Here's a tip before you get a critique. Take a shower.
Wash your ass.
That's what I wanted to say.
I told you as a pimp.
Is that what you remember?
Well, I remember seeing the kid, and the parents were all, excited about it. I think you talked to him after I talked to him, because he was still pretty good mood when I talked to him. But I was just trying to be constructive, and said, no, for 16, this is, pretty good, and you need to do this and this, and even they, as I recall, they weren't even happy with that. They were kind of had this expectation that we were all going to go, oh yeah, you should be working for Marvel right now, kind of thing. And it was like he was 16. I mean, it was
You're no David Williams.
I said that. I go, David Williams started working when he was 16.
Yes, this is the same guy. Yeah.
And
you have a really good memory.
Well, I just remember certain things that for some reason stuck with me. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't mean to the kid or anything, but I said, these are the, I don't remember exactly how the conversation went, but there was a little bit of blowback when I was critiquing it, but I was being nice.
Yeah, see, I've never heard this. I didn't know that you looked at his stuff too. And
but they were very sort of defensive, even when I would say little things, and, but I was like, but no, I mean, I think, you keep working, and you'll get there and all that kind of stuff. And
yeah.
It was a very strange thing. But then I remember I talked to you at that same show later, and you said, oh yeah, that kid came by. And
yeah, okay. I don't remember talking to you about the kid.
But anyway, go ahead. What did
hold on a second in the chat. Dan, you and I are competing. Who could make the kid cry first? Then he says, your art is okay, but your knees look terrible.
No, I was very, you would.
Well, you were always very diplomatic.
I mean, you just don't tell people they stink. You try to.
Well, I didn't tell this kid his art stunk. My experience was he comes up and asks for critique, and his parents are, flanking him on his shoulders, and they're all beaming,
Right.
And he was what? He was in high school, right?
Yeah, he was a high school kid, yeah.
What put me off right away was his attitude.
Mm-hmm.
He acted like he was God's gift.
Yep, that's true. Yep.
And you always, when you're critiquing, you have to take into account the age of the artist.
Right. We'd always ask people when they come up to show their portfolio, how old are you? That's the first question you always ask them.
Exactly. Because someone who's good in high school is different than someone who's good in college. But when you're good in high school, you're still not ready.
Right.
Unless you're great in high school.
Like David
Williams. David Williams, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's rare when you meet, Aaron and David, you meet some kid who's in high school that they blow you away. That's very rare. Yep. This kid thought he was it. Mm-hmm. And he was like what you said, Aaron. He was expecting me, he was expecting me to tell him, wow, you're great. Here's the number to an editor. You can get work today.
Yeah. Right.
That's what he was expecting.
Yes.
He wasn't good for a high school kid, let alone, comic art in general. So he was a long ways away from getting work, but he was expecting me to tell him he was ready to get work. And when you're a comic book professional, you look at comic art all day long. You've looked at comic art all day long for years and years and years. You've critiqued hundreds of portfolios. So you can tell if someone is great, good, average, or crummy at a glance.
Yes.
Mhm.
You don't have to study it to figure that out.
Right.
That's what the parents objected to. When this kid was giving me attitude of, tell me how great I am, and I looked at it and like, you still have a lot to learn. That's basically what I was telling him. The parents chimed in, especially the mother. You only looked at his stuff for a couple of seconds. How can you? And it's like, oh, brother, here we go. I don't remember what I told her, but they definitely left my table in a bad mood.
Yeah, see, I can't remember now if I saw them after you, because they might have been complaining about you. Maybe that's why I went over.
Did they have an attitude when they came up to your table?
Yeah.
Okay, so they may have come to me first.
And, so I was a little bit more generous than you were, but I still didn't tell them what they wanted to hear. And, that's the amazing thing that you're so right about, is that someone brings you up a portfolio at a convention. You don't have to look at it for more than 2 seconds, and where they're at on, the scale of, ability, or, like you said, bad, good, great, whatever. And because you can just tell instantaneously. And so I remember them just being very,
he wasn't asking for anything specific.
Right. He was
just
tell him
asking,
how good he was.
wanting me to confirm his greatness.
And you would not do it.
And so that's why at a glance, I was like, no, you're not ready. And the mom was like, she lost it.
When they walked away from you, Gary, did they call you the N-word?
Did they what?
Did they call you the N-word? He's like, you friggin'.
I don't remember, but the mother was, steam was coming out of her ears. She was very mad at me.
Oh, then she definitely meant the other N-word.
But that was the kid's problem. That's where he got his false confidence, is from people that didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
Well, you expect your mom to be.
Oh yeah, supportive, but
Right. My mom was my biggest critic. I'd show her something, she'd go, "Yeah, you need to. That's not very good." No, thanks, Mom.
Paul Taylor says that's when I changed my name to Sam Sterenko. Yeah.
I had this one guy came up to me, and this is the funniest story, and I don't know telling it you can do any justice, because you'd had to have been there, but it was almost Monty Python-esque, because it was so absurd. And so this guy shows me this drawing, right? And I think he was just interested in inking, right? I don't even think he was all that interested in getting a critique on his penciling. And I don't remember what I told him, but I usually take a great deal of time and talk to people when they're really interested in learning something, or knowing, something, or really want a serious critique of their work. They'll ask you questions, and then they'll listen to you when you talk to them. Right. And so when they do that, then I'm more than willing to take some time and go over their stuff with a fine tooth comb and say, think about this, and, you need to do more of this or whatever. And so this guy brings this stuff up, and it's just terrible. And but I was being nice. So I took the time, and I went through this pretty lengthy critique, and then I turned to him and I said, "So do you understand what I'm saying here?" And he goes, "Yes." And then he repeats back to me what I didn't say at all. Like, he's like, "So what you're saying then
is what he has
blah,
interpreted what you said."
Right. And he said, "So what you're saying is I need to do blah, 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 blah." And I looked at him and I went, "No." I said, "That's not what I'm saying at all." I said, "Here, look it. This is what I'm trying to say." And I went and explained it to him again. And I know this sounds like a lie, but this is God's honest truth. And he sat there, and I go, "So so you understand now what I'm saying? And he goes, yes. He goes, what you're saying is, and then he repeated something back to me that wasn't anywhere close to what I was talking about. I mean, it was like, were you listening to somebody else? And so then I was starting to get frustrated. I said, no, listen. And I tried to simplify it. And I said, what you need to do here is, and I went over it again. And I said, okay, so we're clear, right? And he goes, yeah, okay, I got it now. What you're saying is, and then he repeated something back to me that was nothing close to what I even said. And at that point, I was looking around for the cameras, like I am being set up, right?
Yeah.
And I finally just looked at him and I said, yes, you got it. Perfect. Good luck. And sent him on his way. But it was
yeah, stick with that.
It was so absurd because it was like, I wasn't like repeating like math equations to him. It was just, simple things on crosshatching and light and shadow and where the light's coming from and things like that.
Basics, right?
Yeah. And he was repeating stuff back to me that had not come out of my mouth in any way, shape, or form. And I didn't even know what to say. It's like, do you need to clear your ears out? Do you have a wax buildup that's reverberating sounds differently? That
I had a similar experience, only it was with a local Portland professional.
A professional?
Wannabe.
Was it me?
Who was hiring himself out.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
I'm not going to say his name.
Wait a minute. Was he recently in a picture with David Williams posted on Twitter where David's looking at his portfolio?
No. This was Studio Source days.
Oh, okay.
So you know him.
You know who it is, but...
And he may have done work for you. I mean, because he made the rounds. And he was like that. He inked some backgrounds for me. So
yeah, I know who we're talking about. It is who was in that picture with you, David.
No, it isn't.
Yeah.
It is?
I think it is.
So?
We'll talk about it off air.
Yeah, I'll have to see what you're talking about. So it was the same thing. Show him the page that I wanted him to ink the backgrounds, and I would tell him what I wanted him to do and ask him if he understood. And he'd say, oh, yeah, I got it. Yeah. And then he'd go off and then come back with his assignment done. And it was nothing even close to what I asked him to do.
Oh, actually, this might be somebody else. We'll talk about it later. I'm thinking of the other person it might be.
Not even close. And then I would tell him, no, this is what you're doing wrong. This is the way I want you to do it. Okay, I got it now. Okay. And explain it back to me. And he would explain it the way I said it. Then he would go off and then he would do something completely different and wrong. The line weights were wrong. We would go around, 3 or 4 times until I'd say, okay, you're not getting it. I'm redoing everything you're doing. It defeats the purpose of you being an assistant. I'm not saving time. I'm losing time. And he worked for several artists in Studio Source. And then not too long after that, I saw that he was teaching a comic art class at a local junior college.
Sounds like me. You sure you're not talking about me?
Well, from getting fired from several artists to teaching a class in comic art, that's a pretty good jump. But it was the same thing where he would repeat everything I said to him. But he clearly didn't understand what I was asking him to do. He was hearing it, but he wasn't listening.
Well, or maybe comprehending, because this used to be a real big problem. We found this out in film school all the time, because we would spend the whole time talking about character, right? You got to develop the character. You have to care about the character. We have to blah, 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 right? And so everybody would sit there and we'd have these conversations. Everybody, we'd talk about it. And then you'd see guys like student film, and they had nothing. All they had was like, this is great cinematography. Even when they were trying to do they would experimental special effects and things like that, everybody'd go, yeah, that's really cool. But we had no idea what was going on in the movie and didn't know who the characters were. And yet they would constantly, recite that sort of mantra of character and understanding your character and developing the character. And it's easy to know that you're supposed to do that, but how to do that is not so clear, right?
Yeah.
And so it's the same type of thing. They think they've got it. You're telling them something. It's registering, and they're saying, "Okay, I understand. I need to do this," but they have no way. They have no understanding of how to actually do it.
Yeah. Random.
Very interesting.
Granderson saying, quote, Gary, "Look, Todd, the way you draw those webs suck, and the poses are ridiculous."
But other than that, it's freaking genius.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep, you'll be very successful in this thing. By the way,
Random McGranderson, but Sam Stranko said it was good.
Now they work for Disney.
Yeah.
So you're saying I should eat more beef. So what you're saying is I should get Gary Martin to critique my art, says 88 Surge.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Yeah, Citizen Ronan. He walked away mumbling, "I should have talked to Shelley." Oh boy, it is the truth, and it's such a popular art form. There's a lot of people that want to do it, and it's
It ain't simple.
no, and what I've had arguments with other people who will remain nameless is that,
Why did I immediately know who you were talking about?
I'm of the belief that we're all endowed, born with certain abilities and talents, and it's up to us to develop those talents, whatever they are, whether you're, an athlete, a superior athlete, or you're a superior artist or a singer, or people that are musically inclined to become great musicians or whatever. I don't subscribe to the idea that you can be, as David was joking about earlier, that you can be whatever you want to be. I think you're kind of, whether you believe in God or not, you're kind of, you become what you're destined to become, right? And I just think people are born with abilities that may not line up with what their desires are all the time. And you sort of have to be able to recognize that to make the most out of your life. I think it's hard when you got people that like you really want to be a singer, or you really want to be an artist, or you really want to be an actor, right? Or I wanted to be in the NBA, man. I thought I was going to be a professional basketball player. Then at some point you realize, I'm a senior in high school and I still can't dunk the basketball. I'm probably not athletic enough to make it, to the NBA, right? So no matter how good of a shooter you might be or whatever, ball handler, there's certain things, there's certain levels of athleticism you simply have to be a professional athlete. And and I think that's the same thing with art or music or anything that, but then there's people that, have really good people skills, or people that, whatever, real good organizational that, I don't have, whatever that may, Shelley's really good at math, she's really good at learning, and I am not, and that's, to me, that's as much a talent as anything else is. But we have
a lot of the talent that we have is hidden because we haven't spent time, with that craft or art or whatever it is. People ask me often about my brush inking, where that came from, and they call it a talent. I spent literally years working on it. I knew where I wanted to go with it, and it took me a while to get there. But I would never have known that I had an ability for inking if I hadn't have spent the time, put the time in, and developed it.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying.
A lot of people just want that, immediate result, and it rarely works that way.
Yeah, there's very few, Art Adams and guys like that just, first work strikes a chord and everybody loves it. And even Arthur's gotten better as he's gotten older. you know.
Mm-hmm.
And Golden did the same thing. Golden went through that very sort of early on bloopy period when he was doing like Batman Family and stuff, where you could see that there was something going on there.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah,
he hadn't gotten there yet.
Yeah, his talent was clear, but his craftsmanship still had a ways to go.
Right.
I think the thing about where people get in awe of me being young and getting in is it has nothing. It was my tenacity early on. I was just so hungry for it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Early on it. So I was just obsessed with the craft and art.
Well, passion, the passion in that particular whatever you're chasing is key.
Yeah.
Right. And determination. Because I mean, I sucked when I first started, but I was bound and determined to get there, and I was convinced that I could get there. And so, you know, it was a lot of hard work that enabled it to happen.
See, I never knew if I could get there. I didn't have the confidence. I didn't know. I knew I wasn't as good as I needed to be, but I didn't know if I was ever going to get to that point. But because I had the passion, I just kept at it.
What I realized was that I wasn't good enough, but I never doubted that I could become good enough because I understood what people were telling me.
That's interesting.
It was like, but how do I get to do that? And it's just, the more I studied and the more I looked at other people that were successful, the more I started to understand what I needed to do. And of course, you know, a legendary story now of me with Michael Golden, you know, basically opening my eyes to reality. But even when I understood what I needed to do, I still hadn't developed the skill to do it the way I wanted to do it. Right. So it took years of that to, you know, get my stuff up to speed so that I could actually draw what I wanted and have it look like what I wanted it to look like.
Yeah, that's the thing that when it starts showing up on the paper, the same image that you have in your head, that's when you know you're getting.
Yeah, the truth. Yep.
James in the chat sums it up very well. It says talent does mean it comes immediately to you. It just means you have the ability to develop that skill where others can't.
That's exactly how I would.
And there's something too, you know, if harsh critique doesn't fuel you, then, and if it shuts you down, you're not meant for this job.
Right. Well, I used to teach a class. That's why I was wondering if Gary was referring to me. And I wasn't skill level wise. I did it very early in my career. I had the
no, Eric, I was not referring to you.
No, I know you weren't.
No.
But I had enough knowledge to impart to high school students, even though I couldn't do it at the level that I had the knowledge of. You know, I still had my skill level, hadn't got up there yet. But I told the kids in class, and I said, look, if someone criticizes your work and you get, you know, start crying or get depressed about it and say that's it, I go, then you shouldn't be doing this. I said, you need to turn criticism into motivation to get better.
Yep.
And even if it means getting mad and saying, you know what, I'm going to show all these people, you know, but that's what you've got to do. And if that, you know, if criticism destroys you, then David's right. This isn't where you should be, because you're going to get plenty of it. You're going to get plenty of it, especially from Gary.
Blacklist Universe. Is that Mike?
That's Mike.
Okay. David, you were a affirmative action hire.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
No, the thing is with David, you I mean, obviously you're way better now than you were when you first broke in, but the fact that you had a style developed enough at age 16 to pull off professional work is remarkable, because you just don't see that sort of.
I was better when I was 16, better than Mike is now.
But Mike keeps trying, and then that
he keeps
credit.
Yeah,
he just keeps plugging away. No, but that's the thing, and it's like when I look at another guy. I don't know if people in the chat are familiar with Jerome Moore's work, because most of his stuff he's done has been for Warner Brothers. In what do you call it? What did you work in, David?
Consumer products.
Yeah, consumer product work and things like that, and behind the scenes in animation. I'm sure he's done character design and stuff like that, but the stuff he was doing in high school was just freaking, it's just nuts. It's like, there's no way that kid is, 17 or whatever. I mean,
it's as good as any of those people that we would call our heroes. That's how tight it was. And we were whoa.
Yeah, and you're like, dude, how is that even freaking possible? But there are, every once in a while, there are guys that are just that good. And it's just funny that Jerome, for as talented as he is, took a pathway that leads not for many people to know about it, in the industry, when he could have just dominated the industry with his talent.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
I'm sure like every single person in this chat has seen his work and doesn't realize they've seen it.
Yeah. Well, did you know him better than, I mean, you talked to him more than I have, and I certainly haven't recently all that much, but was he just, was he more interested in just making sure he had a steady paycheck? And that's what, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him.
I mean, I know he wanted to be more creative or do certain things in comics, but that doesn't pay well,
No, it doesn't.
You do that we do comics out of a labor of love. There's certain ones that, get that paycheck to where they're just like, they don't stress in their shoulders when they're drawn and looking at the clock to pay a bill. But and we're all still striving for that goal to where you're like, oh, this thing hit, But Jerome was more practical and realized, you know what, and plus his art does take a bit more time because it's so precise, perfect.
And that's why it wouldn't do a lot of comic book work.
Comics, yeah, because
his stuff was
time consuming, labor intensive.
Yeah, I mean, his techniques alone is you're trying to staring at his artwork, trying to figure out how he did stuff. What was
he did a lot of those. The most stuff he did was those Star Trek covers, right?
That was a big of his.
He did some Wing stuff and some Brave in the Bold and stuff like that. Jerome is always like an artist, like where someone like, everybody in the industry knows who Adam Hughes is, and they go, well, Adam Hughes would go up to Jerome and look at his stuff and go, and go, how did you do that? And they'll have hour-long conversations about art, that he's that person. So he's the artist.
Yep.
Well, he doesn't like hearing that stuff, but that is what it is.
Well, that's
and by the way, I'm finished.
Well, I'm almost done.
Good enough. I beat you, so this means I won.
Huh?
This means I won. This means I won.
We've still got we got 10.
No. I finished before you. That means I won.
Okay, first of all, it's not a contest, and it's not a race. It's not a race. Yeah. It's never been a race.
So you're not going to show David's screen, Aaron?
Nope. Not for 11 minutes.
Okay.
And then we'll see.
Yeah, you better not.
No, what's going to be funny is you look at how mangy, I don't know if that's an art word or not, that I inked that mummy, and how clean and tight the inks on Jezebel Jade are. It's like two different drawings. This is like, this is a hot chick. I got to draw her perfect,
Nintendo Ginger says just need to rename the show to "It's Not a Contest."
Like I said, it's only, I mean, you guys are welcome to express how much you like my piece more than David's in the chat, but it's, we're not keeping score. And I did make her hips bigger. So,
David, I'm curious of what art store you got your circle tool to get the moon.
Oh, I got this from the art store called The Kitchen. The Kitchen of Tupperwareness.
uh-huh.
It's French.
I've got a stack of those lids in my supplies for larger than my template.
Can you guys hear my dog going ballistic?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure I was ruining the show equally for everyone. Someone just dropped something off at the front door, but I'm going down the home stretch here, man. I cannot be waylaid from, I think Shelly's helping him out. So, okay. What are we talking about? Nothing like a dog to distract you from.
So art supplies, yeah, a lot of
art supplies.
A lot of people want to know what some of their favorite artists, what they use, and that's legitimate to a point. But I know a lot of artists, good artists, use whatever they have lying around that they know will work.
That's the absolute truth. I was hung up on that for a long time. And I've said this before. I had conversations with both Mike Plug and Kevin Nolan, and they both answered the question the same way, which I thought was really funny. Because I asked them what he used to ink with, and they both said whatever's within reach.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you start to realize that it doesn't matter if you got the nicest colored pencil in the world, the most expensive one, or the cheapest. It's how you use it that makes the art. So
yeah, Ernie
some
Cologne
stuff works better than others, of course.
Ernie Cologne said those exact same words to me once.
And I've gotten that way too. I mean,
when you ask him specific, what did you use of this? He'd say, I don't know. It's just whatever I had near me.
Yeah. And it's true because some stuff I will ink with a brush and then I'll jump over and grab a pen. And
Gary said, forget all that, man. This is brush, baby.
Well, the brush requires, as we said before, requires such a level of concentration to do it right. And I don't want to concentrate that hard.
Well, it's more than that. I'm trying to achieve a certain look and certain style that that in my own experiments I can't achieve with pens.
Right, and I've just the opposite. I wanted to move away from that brush look and get more to a pen look.
We're getting some people in the chat asking Aaron to
hurry up,
give the boot to a troll.
Oh,
give the what?
The boot to a troll.
Oh, boy, don't I not have any mods in the chat?
I don't think you do.
I thought Mike was. I thought Mike was a mod.
Well, I can't really boot anybody just for being a troll unless they're saying something that's so completely inappropriate.
Well, that's why you got to go look and find out.
Yeah, you need to look and. Yeah, we'll give you.
We'll give you 3 minutes.
We'll give you a minute to
all right. Oh, he's being a racist. Gary Martin, wake up. He has a troll in the chat. Yeah, Gary, you're supposed to be watching the. Oh, okay.
Well, there's nothing I can do about it.
I see it. Yeah, okay, I see it. And now he's blocked. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate that. Yeah, I got it. I got him.
Okay, so proceed with the inking.
No, I'm trying to get a different look now. It's like, I think you said something that Steve Rude said to you years ago. I think you told me this, and it makes a lot of sense. Where he said, he's talking about, the perfect line, right? And he was saying, once you achieve the perfect line, then what? What do you do after that, right? And I was kind of like that in my work, and I was kind of like, okay, I've got it. It looks a certain way, and every time I do it, right, I've established a look, and this is, and when I brush ink it, this is what it looks like. Or when I have somebody, like you or Matt Ryan or somebody like that, it looks a certain way, and it always looks that way. Then I would get somebody like Danny Mickey to ink me, right, and it would look totally different and really interesting. And I was like, well, how do I get to that? And sort of reimagine yourself and how, because you can.
I could see how it's like you being in a candy store and so, oh, I like this, and try that one. Oh, I like that too. And it's completely different. But, there's so many different ways of approaching something and different outcomes.
Right. And it's like there are certain guys like, Boland or something like that, where it's all about precision. You know what I mean? There's nothing, you can't loosely ink Boland, and have it look
right
the way it should look, and it's not going to have the.
I was around the DC offices when DC was having inkers do samples over Boland's Camelot 3000.
Oh, geez.
They were looking for an inker to ink that book, and I saw the samples. When you think about at that time, DC didn't really have that many great inkers. They had a few, but compared to Marvel, Terry Austin, Joe Rubenstein, Beatty, Klaus Janson. I mean, you can go on and on and on and on of the inkers at Marvel in the early to mid 80s. And so some of those samples were just like what you're saying, Aaron. They weren't. They were loose and not respecting what Boland was doing. And Boland was drawing. The early pages were very, very tight. I mean, he was literally inking with a pencil. He was putting in line weights, and he was drawing every feather line, and that's how he wanted it inked. And he wasn't getting it. And Bruce Patterson, out of all of the DC artists, was the closest to what Boland was doing in the pencils. And Boland ended up really not liking what Bruce was doing, and that's why Terry Austin took over. And of course, Terry is nothing like what Boland does, but to your point, he was giving Boland something different that was still special.
Right. And I remember that series, and I remember Patterson, I thought he was doing a pretty fair job, but it's like, you've really got to be, crazy good control.
Yeah,
and
Patterson is a pen guy. He was a crow quilt guy. Mm-hmm. And so like that Boland feathering style, he just, the tool was holding him back a little bit. I don't know what the reasons why he left, other than that I know that Boland wasn't happy with what Bruce was doing. But it's, they just didn't have that many inkers that could ink Boland the way Boland should have been inked. It was, and I would hang out. Lynn Wein was the editor, and I would hang out in his office, and a package would come in from Great Britain, and he would tell me, "Oh, there's Camelot originals in here. Do you want to look at them?" I mean, that's what Len Wein was like. You know, he shared the wealth.
Well, that's cool.
Hey,
all right. Well, time is up.
Wait.
Yep.
I noticed something on yours that I wanted to point out a while ago.
Yeah.
It looks like Jade's right boob dropped because of the shapes you put in her shirt.
The rib cage.
Yeah, near the rib cage, it looks like her boob dropped.
You know what? You need to shut up.
No, look at it. Step back from
Wait till you see it. Wait till you see it close up.
It looks like
gosh.
one of her Tigo biddies just dropped.
No,
and it's
not all the way down here. Are you kidding?
Yeah, that's what it looks like because you made. I'm just saying. That didn't help it.
Well, shut up. All right, let's take a look at David's.
While Aaron fixes it.
Yeah. I think mine captures the spirit a little bit more than what Aaron did. Even though I like what Aaron did, even though she has a lopsided titty. I do the star. I do the star.
Great. Look at that. And you got Jonny Quest. You got Bandit in there. That's very nice. I was going to draw Bandit in here, but I ended up drawing the Mummy instead. So
you know it, and David has confidence in a piece that he's just finished by the vastness of his signature.
Yeah, it's like it's as big as the drawing itself.
I noticed this drawing stream. His signature is getting larger and larger.
Mm-hmm. That's everybody to know who got second place. No, that's really good. Obviously, I love that.
That's the spirit of the cartoon, where bad guys are shooting at the hero, a little kid.
Which what I'm about to show you is not the spirit of the cartoon, but is the spirit of me. That's awesome. I love that piece. That's great.
Yeah, you should.
Oh my gosh. All right. Let's take a look at this, shall we? He's referring to
hot
this
child in the city, dun,
right
dun,
there
dun, dun, with an overloaded titty, dun, 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 turning around and looking for.
Okay, maybe I'll wipe that out so that it's not
thank you.
I think that's all you need to do, and it'll.
I think.
Look at how loose.
That's her goiter.
That's her goiter. Oh my gosh! Look at how loose I inked this mummy, right?
Yeah. From far away, it really tightens up.
Yeah, like from across.
Like right there, it really tightens up, and then you bring it close. It's like NC Wyeth.
Yeah, it feels like what's his name? The spirit guy.
Yeah, Eisner. You're right. Yeah, Eisner.
Look at how tight this is. Look at the lines on her. So tight they are.
Yeah.
Look at that tight, big old giant.
Oh, shit. Shut up. All right, then we got that beautiful face. So,
yeah, very well done.
All we have to do is fix her sagging boob, and we'll be in great shape.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure I fix that before I post it. But anyway, so there you go.
She looks bored because she knows how slow.
She's like, I got to kill another mummy.
No. I mean, she knows how slow mummies walk.
She looks annoyed
because he's dragging a foot. So it's taking him quite a while to get there. So she's like,
yeah, she looks a little annoyed, doesn't she? That's like, come on,
hurry up,
pull your head off.
Hurry up.
Yeah, there it is.
Very nice. Anyway, what size is that?
11 by 14.
Okay.
There we go.
Aaron, Aaron, really, really cool.
Yep.
Thank you, Gary.
Hey, I said it was cool too, except
for her sagging booby. Okay. All right. Well, I'll fix that, David, so we don't have that issue anymore.
I know everyone in the chat.
She doesn't need a gun, just light a match and that'll take care of it. That's true. I mean, I guess that would how you do it, like burn him to cinder and then there's nothing left to crawl around and get you. Knees and legs looking good now. Okay, thank you.
The chat is all over your.
I know. She looks really nice,
questionable
minus the
anatomy.
huge hanger and her shirt rib cage anomaly. Jesus. Oh
See?
my
I'm not
gosh.
the only one.
I'm always so nice to David. He's always
I don't think you've had a single incidence where anyone has disagreed with anything you've said ever on the chat. It's like you mutter the complete nonsense, and people they just like line up to agree with you.
I know
Hey, if I didn't love you, I would have just let it go.
Yeah.
I'm like that kid that Gary's like critiquing, right? He's like, tell me how great this is. Well, that rib cage looks like her boobs sagging down to her belt. And you're like, what? Where's my mom at? I'll get her. She's here. My mom is here. I'll get her in here. She'll tell you what for.
Yeah, get her.
Get her in here.
Get her, please.
She'd probably say the same thing. She was my biggest critic, especially of my female drawings when I was a kid.
Really?
That looks like a man. You better redraw it. I'm like,
Oh, dang. I got to meet this lady.
Brian is saying it's not a tumor.
Oh my God.
Come on.
Come on. It's not a tumor. Oh my gosh. Thank you guys. Thank you, David. I appreciate that. Enlightening the chat to Paul Taylor. My mom's not talking to
love on your book. I gave you all that love on your book, so I have to criticize your drawing.
Yeah, that's right. You had to counterbalance. I
said, I'm too wrong, just giving them all this sugar and love. Go back and read that comment. I'm sorry.
Like Dick says, if you can't take criticism, Aaron. Nobody takes criticism well. It's what you do with it, though, after you get it. What am I going to do? I'm going to change that. That's what I'm going to do. And so I did take the criticism.
While you're at it, make her hips bigger.
Okay. Well.
Oh, here we go.
Oh Lord.
And fix her chipped toenail.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, I was looking at some Frazetta's stuff. He drew gigantic butts. I mean, we sit there and think you draw a big butt, but you still draw it so it looks like it fits on the person. He was just like, he didn't care. It was just this thin waist and then this just.
Well, it wasn't just that. It was also his proportions, because usually the waists on his women were like, 15 inches.
I think he was hanging around Harlem at that time.
Yeah. The waists were really tiny, so it exaggerated everything.
Oh, but he had the bulbous butts for sure, man. And then the way he painted them, so they always had that nice little gleam on them, that really rounded them up.
Yeah, it's like put in the tan line.
Yeah.
Asius africanus.
Mm-hmm.
Gary told me that one.
David won't admit this, but I gave that to him. That
that's exactly it. That's where I got it from. I said, "Oh, G Money's hitting me to that pimp lingo."
Yeah, that's how I put it. I'm going to hip you to that pimp lingo.
There's one last look there at David's 11 by 17 Jonny Quest art. Is that you got the frogman shooting at him, right?
That's right.
So he just climbed out of the water and is blasting poor Johnny.
Poor bandit. He looks terrified.
I know. He looks like, dude, that's a great bandit, man. By the way.
It is. It is.
Oh.
Yep.
All right. And you take one more close-up look at mine so you can make fun of it.
She's got legs.
Yeah, those legs are formidable.
There you go. Thank you, Gary.
They're I have to tip my hat to you.
Thank you. Even though is it Rander McRanderson still giving me a hard time about the knock knees, but yeah.
That's how she's gonna actually kill that.
Still can't unsee the knocking knees though.
A leg lock.
Yep, she's gonna crush him in between those knees.
Who is that? Who is that? The James Bond chick? Something Onatapa or something that would crush these male victims with between her thighs while she was having sex with. It was one of the
Was that Grace Jones?
No. It was during what's his face?
I know who you're talking about.
The latest who was Pierce Brosnan. It was one of the Pierce Brosnan movies. Her name was Anna Topoff or something like that, and she would like crush the guys, suffocate him with her knees while they were yes, Jean Grey, the girl that played Jean Grey, and did not age well at all because she was really beautiful when she was younger, but she did not. Famke Janssen.
Hard
there
life.
you go. Yeah, Famke Janssen and GoldenEye.
I was just going to say, we can't read some of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Xenia on a top. That's what it was. Xenia on a top. That's right. So anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it for today. We, once again, David Williams feeling good about his second place finish, which is okay because it's not a competition. He doesn't have to feel bad. And Gary, thank you again so much for joining us to keep the conversation rolling. Maybe at some point, Kelsey will return. I don't know. Well, I'm sure he'll return at some point, but when, who knows? But Graybeard's Studio will roll on despite that. Thank you guys for joining us. We couldn't do the show without you, and it's our great pleasure to sit here and have some fun and draw with you guys joining in. I would, what was I going to say? The links to our campaigns. Wraith of God Blood Hunters is mine. You'll find a link in the description of this video. If you haven't backed, I'd appreciate you running over there and taking a look and see if it's something you might be able to get behind. Same with David's Bass Reeves, West of Hell. And his book is done and getting close to shipping. So like you said, you got about 30 days or less to get in there and back that before it closes down and starts shipping out. So Skull Nasher saying David won this week, and I'd like to point out it's not a competition. We're not involved in competing against each other unless you'll think mine's best, and then it's okay. But otherwise, we're just inspiring each other to do our very best work and use whiteout when it's appropriate, which apparently I'll be doing shortly after the stream. So anyway, you guys, thanks for joining us this week, and we will see you next week with an all new topic and category to draw from. Take care and enjoy the rest of your